Big welcome to our Wednesday free live class. Remember, every Wednesday we always have a free class across all our social media platforms. So whether you're on TikTok, that you're on Instagram, you're on Facebook, or even on YouTube. And if you ever do nothing any of the other days, remember you can always tune into YouTube, follow Kay's Flower School, and we have hundreds of free tutorials there that you can watch. Hope you're going to enjoy this class. So first of all, we start by everybody introduce themselves who's watching. So comment underneath and let us know where you're watching in from. What we would really appreciate if people could share this video. So again, if you're a member of a flower club or a gardening club, again, we'd appreciate if you maybe that you shared it in the club or in the group that you happen to be on social media. So this is something very simple that you can copy at home, and it's how to display a bunch of flowers. Normally what happens is you're in the supermarket doing the grocery shopping and you see they have a special offer on maybe short stem roses or tulips or freesias or whatever the flowers might be. And when you bring them home and you put them in your vase, it looks like you've just plunked them in your vase. And a lot of people that are watching wouldn't be confident enough with maybe making a hand-tied bouquet. And that's normally what florists do, is they actually assemble a hand-tied bouquet in their hand using what we call the spiral technique, and then when it's displayed in a vase or in a container, it can look really, really well. So I want to show you how to do a very simple vase arrangement. I'm going to use tulips because they're in season at the moment, but obviously you can substitute these for other flowers. And remember I mentioned earlier on about following us over on our YouTube channel. So again, if you go over there, I do have a similar idea, but I'm using long stem red roses and again, a much taller glass vase. So it's a similar technique, mechanics of what I'm going to show you here today, but just in case you want to kind of go that next step, pop over and watch that tutorial. Again, for anybody that's just joining us now, massive big welcome to you. My name is Janette and I'm from Kay's Flower School. And every Wednesday at 12 o'clock we always have a free video posted here. Remember, we really would appreciate if you shared our video and again comment underneath where you're watching in from and you know what, what's the weather like around the country. So these are glass vases and you can buy them in IKEA and they're very reasonably priced. But I have also seen them in the likes of garden centres and what I would call like Mr. Price, Euro shops or home store. Now again, if anybody else is watching and maybe you know of a shop in your particular area that sells a similar container, any chance of posting the link underneath there, I'd really appreciate it. We always have our regulars who do all the tagging for us. What you're also going to need is a roll of anchor tape, but if you have sellotape, it'll do the same job. If you're looking to buy a roll of anchor tape, one of our students has a page, a website, basically here on Facebook and on Instagram you'll find her, and it's called AM Floral Sundries. So again, if some of our students are watching, we might tag her for us, and I'd really, really appreciate that. Her name is Anya. And again, you know the way you've watched the tutorials of me making the bows, you would be able to go over to AM Floral Sundries and you can buy the rolls of ribbon off her. Or again, if we're using the pearl pins on the buttonholes or the bridal work, again you will be able to buy the packs of pearl pins. Any of the material I use, you will be able to buy it from Anya. Now I'm not sure if she has these glass containers, but maybe she's watching, or again, when somebody tags her, put the @ AM Floral Sundries and pop over and have a look. So here I have the glass vase and you can see the way, just kind of like stepped in 3 centimetres or so approximately, I've just added a strip of anchor tape. Now as I said, you could do that with the sellotape as well. So I'm going to cut a second one, just leave a little bit of space in between it. And what I'm creating is a grid. Now you could do this with chicken wire, and I do have tutorials over on our YouTube channel using chicken wire, but this is really, really simple. Now obviously if you're using sellotape, your sellotape is going to be a little bit wider. So a little trick for you, if you squeeze your sellotape, that you're basically sticking it to itself, okay? So can you see the difference of that one, how narrow it is towards that one? Now it's not necessary to do it with the anchor tape, but that's how easy it is to do it with the sellotape. So if you find that your sellotape is very, very wide, that's a little trick. And just make sure it's really secure onto the edge of the glass container. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make 2 stripes going the opposite way. And I'm making like, do you remember as a kid in school and we used to play X's and O's? Probably kids nowadays probably don't play X's and O's. Comment underneath, did any of you ever play X and O? We used to play it in school. We obviously had no mobile phones. So, but this is kind of what I'm doing, is I'm creating the 9 boxes for putting our X's and O's in, do you know that way? And I'm cutting back the anchor tape because I don't want it coming right down the base because it'll be a little bit unsightly looking, okay? So you can see I'm trimming it back, keeping it quite short and just kind of getting rid of them pieces. So again, that's what I've created, that we have our 9 boxes for our X's and O's. And again, it's not necessary because this is anchor tape, it's not necessary. But if you're using sellotape, you might want to do what I'm doing there, squeeze the tape that's basically sticking to itself, and it just makes it a little bit narrower. So hopefully that'll help you there. And again, if anybody does this at home and you want a little bit of feedback on it, feel free to post your photographs in the comments below and I will respond back to everybody. You'll notice that with all our live class, we do respond to everybody. Now I have one in the oven, okay? So this one I have it filled with water because I want to be able to hold that one up, you know, that way, and I didn't want to drown the place. So flower wise, what am I going to use today? So I'm using tulips, and these are an unusual tulip, as in they're the ice cream tulip. They literally look like something you could lick, and they're absolutely gorgeous, and they will blow open. They're only in 24 hours, so they do have to blow quite a little bit. But it's just your normal single tulips, double tulips, Paris tulips, lily tulips, or tulips out of your own garden will do exactly the same job. Or again, you could be watching this on YouTube later on in the year, and tulips are obviously not going to be in season, so you could substitute the flowers here for freesias or even roses out of your own garden, but short stem roses from your local florist would be absolutely perfect. Or again, maybe it's peony season when you're watching, and again, this would be absolutely beautiful using peonies. Now I have 15 tulips, so you can use a lot less, or again, you can use more if you want to. The second flower I'm going to use is Aster. Now I always advise my students to take notes when they're watching these videos, so maybe some of you have a pen and paper there. You're all organised, and you know that every Wednesday we're on here at 12 o'clock. But the common name for Aster is September flower. And the great thing about September flower is it's available all year round, not just in September. Now there is lots of conditioning and treatments that we cover on our classes here for each of the individual flowers. But we do have an option, a free offer for all our followers and all the people who follow us here across our social platforms. So we have a free link where you can sign up to one of our online programs where we have over 60 tutorials on conditioning and treatment of fresh flowers and fresh foliage right across the board. And the great thing about this particular program is we are continuously adding to it, so it's going to keep growing. Now at the moment it's free, you know what I mean, we will be charging eventually for it. So all you have to do is put in the comments below that you'd like a copy of the link, or just say give us the link or any chance of the link. Just use the word link, okay? And again, later on this evening when I'm responding to you, I will give you the link. You can sign up. All you need is your email address, make up your own password, and you have access to it free for 6 months. It's absolutely brilliant, like flowers right across the board if you want to know exactly how to treat them. So back to our September flower, or Aster. Another name for it is Michaelmas Daisy. And again, in the tutorials, I give you all the common names, I give you the meaning behind all the flowers, I give you the longevity, and again, exactly what you need to do to treat them and condition to them. So with the September flower, I'm able to cut off, see like the little side shoots, you see along the edge there, and then just literally run your fingers along the stems. They're nice and narrow, they are. And these little offcuts are absolutely great for short little vases. Now obviously in the other tutorials where I'm showing you larger vases, I will use something different. Now if anybody is watching there and maybe you're kind of saying, oh, I can't get September flower, well, you could use foliage instead. Obviously the flower is going to be much nicer, but depending on the time of year, if anybody is watching and you have escallonia growing in your garden, the escallonia has a beautiful little pink flower on it. Now again, probably needs to tone in with the colours that you're using, but if you use some of that foliage, it will be beautiful in this display. Or again, have you any ceanothus in your garden? The ceanothus has a beautiful purpley blue flower, and again it will be fabulous in this display. Or even the hebe, you know the way. So there is lots, and again, if anybody's watching there that's a horticulturist, maybe you have some suggestions yourself that you could share with everybody. again, comment below. So big welcome to the couple of people that are just joining us there. Huge big welcome. Again, you can always watch the beginning of this video later on the replay. And some of you may watch this later on this evening, and a big welcome. And again, I'm encouraging you to please share this video, and again, comment underneath and let us know where you're watching in from. And as we always say here at Case Flower School, what's the weather like around the world? The third flower that I'm going to use is a little bit of Veronica. Now, I love this shaped flower, and it's beautiful in wedding bouquets, and just like the spikes, it's just going to look amazing against the roundiness, you see, and the ball shape of the tulip. And also, some of the Veronica is this beautiful cerise pink colour, which is going to just complement the shades, and then we have the white as well. And then obviously I'm going to add in our lilac, our pale lilac of the September flower. So hopefully you're all organised, and remember, if you're watching this on the replay, you can always pause the video. Or what I often say to the students is, if you share this video to your own personal Facebook page, it'll always be there, and then you're able to go back next week or the week after, you're able to watch it, and you can pause, stop and fast forward it yourself. Obviously you can't do that when you're watching it live. So first of all, I'll start with the September flower. Now, as I said, we're not doing a proper hand-tied bouquet course here today, because it takes us nearly a day to do hand-tied bouquet training with our students. And online we actually do have a standalone hand-tied bouquet course. If you go to our website, flowerschoolisland.com, you will be able to go into the online programs, and you will see our standalone courses, and the hand-tied bouquet course is a standalone course. And with the online course, you can do it at your own pace from the comfort of your own home. Even if you happen to be on holidays, you'll be able to do it on holidays as well. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to work around the outside of the grid, okay? And I'm just going to insert like these narrow stems. And you can see why I have cleaned off these stems, because they'll go in there. They're not going to create like a proper kind of spiral effect, but I will kind of get a grid down inside, okay? So I'm just working my way around, adding a few of them, and I may kind of go back somewhere in between and add like a few little extra ones. And again, I mentioned, if you don't have the September flower, because some of you may not, use a foliage with a flower on it, it'll do exactly the same job. So there's a few of them. That one is broken, so we'll remove that one. So there is a few of our September flowers around the outside of our vase, using the grid. And now what I'm going to do is, where them stems have kind of like crisscrossed in among each other, okay, I'm now going to add a couple of stems kind of upright, but again in between the grid. And just make sure when you're going in between the our X's and O's grid, but I'm also going in between the crossover of the stems down kind of in among the stems of the September flower. So again, I'm just adding a few of them kind of upright. Now I have a few more of them, but I'm going to keep them till later on. So now I'm going to work with the flowers, but that's what it looks like so far. Now again, the suggestions of foliage that I mentioned there earlier on, like the Escallonia with the pink flower, the Ceanothus with the purple flower, or the Hebe with the purple flower, if you are, or the Choicea, that with the white flower. Some people don't like the smell of that, I actually do. But again, if you have some foliage growing in your garden that has some nice flower on it, you could just do this effect with just the foliage and flowers and absolutely nothing else. Where again, if you went out to your garden and you had just picked it, it would just plonk into the middle of the vase. With this way, using that grid effect, you get a great display to it. It's really important that the stems are clean. So even you'll notice with the tulips here, I have removed, so I just manually pulled off all the foliage that was at the very bottom of the stem. Now I did leave, say, foliage up the top, right? But any of the stem that's going to be down inside the grid, down in the water, I have removed them. So now what I'm going to do is working my way around the outside, very similar to how I did the September flower. And you can see the way I'm adding them in on a slant, okay? I'm going to do a line of tulips around the outside. For the moment, I'm just placing one flower in each of the little grids, the X's and O's. But I may go back afterwards, I will go back afterwards, and I'll add a few little extra ones kind of in between. Because obviously with the grids, it being a circle, and we're kind of using kind of a square effect, some of the grids are a little bit bigger or a little bit smaller than others. So that's what we're doing there, just going around the outside, adding them in. And again, we're getting that crisscross, you know, that way in between. Now again, with the grid where all the stems are crisscrossing among each other, I'm now going to add flowers in straight, and I'm working my way down kind of in between the crisscross of the flowers and then the grid of the X's and O's box, and that will help, you see, to support the flowers. So for anybody, maybe, as I said, it's just to display in your own house, maybe on your hall table, maybe in the middle of the kitchen table, maybe you're not having any dinner tonight, beans on toast, and so at least they'll have nice flowers to look at. Wouldn't that be lovely? So again, just kind of go along there and just insert the flowers, as many or as little as you want. As I said, I'm using 15 stems of the tulips. And if you're using a glass vase, kind of similar to me, 15 roses, like short stem, small-headed roses, would do exactly the same job. So again, I'll just kind of turn that around there just to kind of give you an idea. Now, as I said, I do have a couple of extra stems of the September flower, which, oh, here it is, it's just mixed in with the other ones. And I'm now just going to add a few extra of these, do you see, in between our tulips, just as a little bit of a filler. But again, if you're using foliage, foliage will do exactly the same job. It'll obviously fill up faster, do you know that way? Because obviously there's a lot more kind of bulkiness on your foliage. And again, foliage with a flower is going to save you a lot of money. Because people love to have fresh flowers. I've just broken that stem there. People love to have fresh flowers on their kitchen table, but it can be quite expensive. I know as a florist I shouldn't be saying this, but like, it can be quite expensive to be buying flowers all the time. Now again, you could just leave it at this. Remember, the tulips are going to blow open, especially this variety of tulip. You know that way, it'll blow open really, really wide. But the other thing to be aware about tulips is they continue to grow. So these are going to get a little bit taller. So what I'm going to do now to add in another dimension is I'm going to add in our Veronica. So basically inserting it down in the grid, the X's and O's boxes, okay, in between our flowers, and I'm going to allow the Veronica to stand up that little bit higher, can you see, over our tulips. And because I know within 2-3 days, then tulips will be after growing up about 4 or 5 centimetres, and they'll be up to around the same height, you know that way. And where the September flower then will kind of more add like a filler kind of in underneath. So now all I'm doing then is I'm just adding a couple of stems of Veronica in between it. Again, not necessary. If you don't have it, like this isn't something that you would be able to pick up in a supermarket, probably only a flower shop would have this for sale. But it is beautiful, and it does add another little bit of a dimension, another little texture into your arrangement. Again, if anybody has any questions, maybe items that you could substitute or use or like use instead, feel free to comment underneath. And again, if there's something that you would like to see me demonstrate, okay, not saying I promise that I'll do everything, but I will do the best I can, you know the way. So comment underneath what you would like to see next Wednesday at our live class. And again, I'll facilitate you as best I can. Again, I'd really appreciate if you clicked share. And again, comment and interact. And again, anybody that's looking for floral sundries, we do have AM floral sundries. The girls have them tagged there in the comments. And if anybody would want to copy this, maybe an artificial, and it could look really well, we have evergreen silk plants. And remember, there's a 10% discount from them if you use the code KAYSFS. And by the way, AM Floral Sundries gives a discount code if you use that same code as well. So hopefully you enjoyed today's class, and hopefully we'll see you all back next Wednesday, same time, same place, 12 o'clock for a free live class. Goodbye from me. See you then.